Yes, people, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to my 100k FTMO challenge. Picking up from where we left off last week, we haven't taken anything on the trading account for this week. It's literally just been a stagnant week, no trades taken. So today is going to be another quick one. There is potentially one trade that I could have taken. I'm going to walk you through that one, and then we're also going to do a overview on the dollar, what happened with that in EU, what happened with that as well, and the potential trade that we could have taken, but we didn't trade, and the reasons why behind that. Would have been a really nice trade, but sometimes you just miss them, sometimes you just don't get in, and that's fine. We're patient. It's been about 2 weeks now since I last took a trade on this account. As of the time of recording, we are still 1.164% in profit in the account. Today is the start of April, start of a new month, ending Q1, coming into Q2 soon, and yeah, just looking forward to what the markets can bring this month. Hoping it's going to be a fruitful one for myself and all you traders out there. So without further ado, just going to get straight into it. As you can see, this is the last trade that we had on the account, a losing trade. But overall, what we were looking on the dollar is we were still anticipating high prices, which did get targeted, which did run. So we had this buy side liquidity up here that we identified long term, because when we ended the week we were over here. So the previous week we're just taking out those highs there, and the following week we were looking for bullish prices. So that means bearish price action on EU, and this is what we had identified, and it's so nice. Even though that we don't get in the trade and we don't make the profits, it's really nice and beautiful to see price respecting the levels and us reading the price correctly. So as you can see, there was a volume imbalance there on the daily, and overall there was those relative equal highs here that were really clean. We were looking to take those out, and if you drop down onto the 4 hour, what we pretty much identified is once price had came back and tapped into this fair value gap over here with that impulse of the news from the previous week, it started making its way up. So once it broke above these highs, we did say that, you know, it could potentially reverse from here, but overall we're still looking pretty bullish. So what I identified is this 4 hour this 4 hour breaker block here. Within that we had a 4 hour or daily imbalance, I believe. Let me just go back up to the daily. Yeah, between there. So if I remove this right here, you can see that volume imbalance there between those two candles. So if we drop back to the 4 hour, we can see there. So we had that, obviously the breaker block on the 4 hour. Move that across so you can see we had the volume imbalance, and then within that we also had, if you drop down to the 1 hour, you had this order block here that price had left behind. You had the fair value gap, which obviously validated it, and it took out liquidity over here. So as you can see, so right here, took out liquidity, broke that structure higher, continued going up, left that fair value gap, so that validated that order block. Within that you had a previous high from Thursday, which is the one here. Coming into the market, so you had the previous low that price wanted to tap into. This is kind of what we were looking at. Coming into last week, we identified as that as being the previous week's high. I was looking at prices if it potentially wanted to come down into here and then see how it played out. If it broke market structure, then I was continue bullish, continue the price up, and that's pretty much what played out perfectly the way we wanted on dollar. If it had broke below here, then I anticipated that it might want to come into this order block here with this fair value gap, which would be nice to buy from and continue upwards. But overall I was still bullish. So price did that. Start of the week went higher. Where is it? Monday traded higher, had that manipulation move, you know, after accumulation, start trading lower, took out the previous day's low, which was Friday's low over here, tap into the 1 hour fair value gap, had the market structure shift. This was on Tuesday, by the way, and then once it broke above this high, left the fair value gap there, and I saw that as so I saw that as a potential level for the market to use as support to continue price going bullish. Tapped in, respected that level. As you can see, all the candles, they came in, tapped into below. That was news on Wednesday. Tapped into the fair value gap, but respected. Look at the body closure there. Continue higher, and then if I could go down in 15 minutes, so we had this impulsive move here after price tapped into the 1 hour fair value gap. We had OTE and 50% over here between that low and that high, so I thought the next day price is going to come in, tap into those discount areas, continue going higher. Pretty much that's what we had, and price just continued to work its way up really nicely. Tapped into the volume imbalance, had a nice reaction off that, came back below, tapped into this order block here, right there. So that was nice to see. Continued higher to consolidate into today's price action, and then as you can see today with some dollar news, price just continued above into our long-term, well, intermediate term target right there. So that's really nice to see. So it'll be interesting to see what price wants to react from here, whether it wants to break down, but we can do a market analysis after. So essentially that was dollar. And on euro, as you can see, if we were bullish on dollar, then we're going to be bearish on euro, and that's pretty much what happened with price action. So I can show you where I identified those levels. So on the daily, this is where we closed on Friday. I was anticipating that, retracing back into the range, filling the gap, and then continue lower. That matched with the scenario on dollar where we wanted to come down and then push up. And as you can see, if we drop down to the 4 hour, it was beautiful price action, but we just didn't get the entry that we kind of wanted. So that was Friday's low. Coming into this week, price then traded higher, filled that 4 hour fair value gap, identified that 4 hour order block over there. So I anticipated price to come up into premium, tap into the order block, and then if it gave us a shift in market structure, that's what I was looking to take, and then ride the wave down. And coming into Tuesday's trading, which matched up with dollar, because that's when dollar topped into the PD array, we had this bullish move up, market structure shift here, return. This is on the 1 hour though, but I was looking at on a lower time frame, which I'll show you within here. But obviously, in hindsight, you could have got into the trade here because it had that market shift here, especially on the 1 hour. Came in, tapped in, but this was already out of our trading time. That's why I would not have taken that. So if I show you that fair value gap there, which is, it's so beautiful to see price respecting these kind of levels like this. ICT always says, the bodies tell the stories, the wicks do the damage, and just look how beautiful price is respecting these levels here. Price can overshoot it, but the body close is just absolutely perfect, and this is what you kind of want to see. So the reason why I wouldn't have gotten that trade, as I said, this was in the PM session, and I would have been done trading by then, would have been walked away from the charts, as it doesn't align with our morning kill zones. But the one that I did align in the morning kill zone, if I drop down to the 15-minute, this is where I really wanted to see that market structure shift, give me very clear, but it didn't. So we had the run on liquidity up here within London, tapped in as we came in towards New York session, market structure shift here, but on the 15-minute, as you can see, there was no fair value gap created there. So that's why I didn't take it, because I wanted to see that really impulsive move on the 15-minute to confirm that price actually had shifted structure within this zone here. Alternatively, what I could have done, and I did see it on the 5-minute, if I go back here, and maybe it was a thing of fear, I don't think it was. I just wanted to see that clear bearish intent, but as you can see on the 5-minute, it did leave a fair value gap here. So after it had that shifting market structure here, there was a small fair value gap there that you could have entered into just about there, and then you would have been short there as it created that fair value gap, as in returned into it. Stop loss for me usually would be above that previous high, and then I would have give it there just for some extra safety. And then your targets, first initial target for me would have been all the way down here, because overall I was bearish. So that previous day low would have been targeting that for a nice 3.45 risk to reward. And then next target would have been here, and that was just sell side liquidity resting over here, as you can see, below those equal lows. And then final target after that, if I decide to hold over, would have been the 4-hour fair value gap there. So that would have been a nice way to end that trading week, targeting those lows there. As you can see, it's a magnet to price. You had these lows, that low, the 4-hour fair value gap. So all really strong areas for price that wanted to gravitate towards and draw towards. So unfortunately I didn't take that on EU. Even for example, if it broke this low here, which once it did leave a fair value gap over here. So if price then returned and tapped into this one, then I would have been happy enough to enter, but it didn't. So missed trade. I know some people probably caught that. I didn't, and it's fine. I'm happy enough to live with that. I'm just happy enough to see price really show itself, and me be able to call the markets the way I did. Watch price, tape read it, and follow it down and watch it hit the targets that I identified on a high time frame. And just it's beautiful to watch. It's beautiful to watch price action like that. But yeah, that's it for that trade. I didn't see any other opportunities, especially towards that direction as well. I wasn't happy to get into any other opportunities. Those are the only two that I saw. But in terms of this week coming up, didn't take any trades today as it was my birthday, so we were out all day. Wasn't able to look at the charts, and it's also a bank holiday here in England. So looking at the charts for this week in terms of bias, so I can remove all that. So after we've swept sell side down here, filling that gap of obviously targeted buy side up here, which is nice to see. Now that we've targeted and taken out that liquidity, especially in the high time frame, it'll be interesting to see what price would like to do from here. So that's just the liquidity grab there. You've still pretty much got this area, but price doesn't have to fill it in. Sometimes it just taps in and that's enough for it to then turn around. Sometimes it likes to come in and tap into the 50% of that, which would be around here. So if you draw that out in price, it's about there. So if we draw that out in price, looks about there. Get rid of that fib, and then mark that as C. Gap. So that's 50% of that fair value gap, the daily fair value gap. So price doesn't have to tap straight into it. It can just reverse from here, or I like to see it obviously gravitate towards that 50% and then potentially give us a sell signal. If it does, it'd be nice to target anywhere within this imbalance that it's created. So you do have this order block here on the 4-hour. So that's just the 4-hour order block. that I can mark out. And then obviously you've got this 4-hour fair value gap there as well. And then you've also got all this level in here, but it depends on how price actually closes today, because there's still a couple of hours of trading left. So we'll see what price has done tomorrow morning when we come into the charts. Still overall I'd say bullish, but then again we've ran into this weekly bearish order block, so it'll be interesting to see what price does from here. You've got a lot of levels that are aligning with each other. If it wants to carry on bullish, then I'd be anticipating for price to come up here, run out these weekly highs with the buy side liquidity sitting above there. Alternatively, then if it does want to reverse from here, we've got plenty of targets that price can come down into if it does want to reverse on that. But I'd like to see that reversal happen on the 1 hour before I get into any shorts, any long-term shorts anyway. Any short-term shorts, then we're looking at maybe like a 15-minute market structure shift down into here, and then going onwards. On euro, still pretty much been bearish the last couple of weeks. In my view right now, the easy target for price to come down into is this weekly sell side in liquidity down here. As you can see, took out buy side here, and then could potentially target this weekly sell side down here. As you can see, it's just been bearish all the way through. If you want to continue that bearish momentum, which would show continuation with bullish momentum on euro, then those would be my targets, and that would just mean continuing to trade with the trend. In terms of reversals, where we can get that bearish move, then I just have to see what price and how price closes tomorrow morning. So we'll jump on the charts tomorrow morning early. There is obviously this level here that price might want to come back and rebalance, but it's just going to be that 50% on that range. Whenever it does make the trading day range from today's low, which it's made today's high, whenever it makes today's low, we'll look at 50% and above into discount market, to then wait for price to come up into it, look for market to shift, continue the bearish intent, come up here. So if let's say this is today's low, then we're looking at that 50% will be about here, and then obviously your OTE is just above that. So if that's 50%, and if we do want to continue bearish, then the higher probability would be for this to happen. Oops. So if we want to continue that bearish momentum, then we'll be looking at this kind of movement into equilibrium, liquidity sweep, and then down here somewhere. So that's what potentially we'll be looking at if we want to continue bearish, but we'll see what the market presents itself and see what it wants to do. But apart from that, guys, I hope you have a blessed day. I hope this month brings a lot of profits, a lot of consistency, a lot of breakthroughs, hopefully for myself as well and all those other traders out there. Thank you for always following along. Peace, love, see you on the next page.